This is a 16-week reverse countdown method that I was featured in Apple News for. I'm gonna run you through it step by step to get insane results like we do at Beyond Coaching. So here it is, the 16-week roadmap. I'm gonna run you through it step by step, and the first thing that we always do is set the end date to then work backwards. And the reason that we reverse engineer this is that I'm a big believer in that every single person needs to know the next 3 to 5 steps to get the best result humanly possible. The way I always think about that is that when you know what you're aiming for, when you know your milestone marks, it makes it so much clearer the direction that you need to go, and your adherence will go to a whole new level. With that said, let's set you up with D-Day. And D-Day is actually photo shoot day, just a cool name for it. The photo shoot, as soon as it's locked in, you can then start working backwards on the results that you want to achieve. The reason we book it in first, it's a non-negotiable. Creates urgency, a little bit of good pressure, and when it can't be moved, you know you have that deadline to go all in for it. Best analogy for this, if back in school, you was that person, you used to do your homework very last minute, kind of like me, you need a bit of urgency behind your results because they help you propel the results to the next level. Now, photo shoot's booked in. The first phase on the back of this, out of 5 phases, is gonna be your actual peak week in there itself. And there's a lot of hype around peak week, but there should be, because it's the massive manipulation of your carbohydrates and then your water intake to manipulate how your body looks on the actual day of the photo shoot. So with this one, we're trying to pump your body with so much glycogen, your muscles are just looking so pumped. So when you're posing in front of camera, when you've got the pre-pump on happening there as well, your muscles just look next level. But simultaneously, we also actually want to be dehydrating you. So we want to have a pumped but dry look. So the muscles are looking amazing, the abs are looking dry and shredded in there as well. So we have like the perfect synergy going into that photo shoot itself. Now moving one step back before we go into peak week, we have a 4-week sprint that we call the kitchen sink. And just to be honest, it kind of is what it says on the tin. This is the most aggressive stage of your photo shoot prep in there itself. And the reason behind this is that you've been on prep now for over 10 weeks. You've been hitting these results, hitting these milestones. Those last 4 weeks are counting down very quick. And that's the best time to go the most aggressive we possibly could to enhance the results of what you see on shoot day and what you see during peak week. Calories drop, expenditure goes through the roof, steps, cardio, supplements. We just look at any lever that we can pull that makes sense to you and take it to the next level. But before we hit the kitchen sink, we actually run you through a very small phase. We call this the test peak week. And for this is that we don't want you going into that kitchen sink phase already depleted. You have a few more carbs back, and the best way of doing it is actually the test version of your full peak week in there itself. The biggest mistake that we always see people doing is that they go into their peak week not actually having a trial run of how many carbs they actually need for the full product in there itself. So when they get to peak week, it really is just a hope for the best kind of mentality. I'm a nerd, you can probably already tell, right? So I want to have all the data in advance so that test peak week, 3 days of carb loading just lets us understand exactly what you need, go into the full peak week in there itself, and more calories back to replenish you before the big 4-week stretch of the kitchen sink phase. And then the phase before the test peak week is the longest phase throughout this whole process. This is what we call the countdown diet. And this is the one that starts off very sustainable and gets more aggressive week on week on week with any levers that we can pull that best suits you at that time. This is where the majority of the results unfold, and being the longest phase, it can't go from 0 to 100 literally within a week. We need to keep ranking up those gears, keep going from gear 1 to gear 2 to gear 3, and so on and so on and so on. And the very starting phase is actually something we just call phase A. The goal from this is that we just need to understand you as a person versus coaching you based on a system. Everybody's a little bit different. Everybody's got different needs. Everyone needs different TLC. Some people love different archetypes. Some people need to be challenged. Some people need to be reinforced. The main thing is that when we get to know you inside and out, we know what to expect happen in each phase, what could be a constraint, what could be a barrier. So any bottlenecks that we have, we sort it out in that very first phase of the 16-week prep. This is the killer one. So with all the phases in place, the biggest thing that we're trying to avoid during this whole process is something that we like to call the fuck it zone. And you may have heard something similar before. This is basically you being tapped out of your diet. You've gone from gear 1 to gear 8 in a matter of weeks and your body just can't hack it. Bearing in mind, you've still got a personal life, maybe a social life, and you've just gone too extreme too soon. And that diet fatigue has hit. The candle's been burnt out at both ends. You're basically just waving a white flag. The main reason we do this in stages is to avoid that fuck it zone at all costs, because when you get there, it's very hard to get out. Now we know the phases, I'm gonna run you through the calories and the levers to pull to enhance the results, to make sure in 16 weeks, you've done everything you possibly could to rock up to that photo shoot feeling like you freaking out in that spot. So calories, we basically breaking down in different parts of the journey. So the very first point of phase A is what we're gonna be aiming for is 14 to 12 calories per pound of body weight. Nothing too aggressive, a very slight deficit, but it's just there to start getting that routine and habits in place before we start pushing that aggressive lever stage by stage. Then leading us into the countdown phase, which is a bit more of an aggressive stint with your calories. And the best way to think about this one, as the results enhance, we want to keep that progressive needle moving. So we're never going to hit a plateau stage at all during this prep. So in the countdown phase, we're looking to drop your calories down between 12 to 10 calories a pound of body weight. So in phase A, 14 to 12. The countdown phase, we're now looking from 12 to 10 calories a pound of body weight to keep ramping up that aggression. Leading it into the kitchen sink, which we now know is the most aggressive stage for all of this. You've just come off test peak week. We're now going into that 4-week sprint. This is the part where your calories will be dropping down to 9 to 8 calories per pound of body weight. And yes, that is aggressive, but it is also very short term. So there's no lasting damage that can be done. If you started your prep on 8 calories per pound of body weight, you'll probably be tapped out way before you even get to the halfway point. So now we know your calories, I'm gonna show you the levers that you can pull to keep enhancing the results stage by stage by stage. Biggest thing of this is that there's no right lever that fits all. It has to suit you and your lifestyle. Some people are amazing with their step count, can hit 15,000 steps a day with ease. Probably quite an active job, love being outdoors. But for other people, their step count may be about 7,000 per day. So it's just finding that right lever that we can pull for you week on week. So the first lever behind this is actually going to be your steps in there itself. And the goal from this is to increase your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, more known as your NEAT, fancy fitness word, right? So with your NEAT, the best way of looking at this is that as soon as you start hitting targets consistently, that's the best time to pull a lever. If you're at 7,000 steps and you're maxed out and there's literally no wiggle room to be increasing your steps, we have to look at different levers. If you're at 15,000 steps and that's an absolute breeze, go for 16,000, then go to 17,000, because every 1,000 steps more is going to increase your expenditure. Increasing your expenditure enhances the rate of the deficit. So now from steps, we're now looking into your training output. And this is going to be coming under your EAT, exercise activity thermogenesis. One that I always say to my clients, which is a saying that I absolutely love: do not be a hero. You do not need to go to the gym to push PBs week on week on week in a diet phase. For a lot of people, the muscle mass is actually already there. The goal is not to try and enhance your muscle mass in a diet, because it's literally impossible. The goal is to showcase it. So instead of you aiming for low rep ranges, pushing PBs week on week and just making that hunger level go through the roof, I want you focusing on volume training. 15 to 20 reps, even in compound movements, aiming for about 70% of your maximum weight, focusing on form, tempo, mind to muscle connection, and just managing your diet overall. Best way of thinking about it, let's say for example your expenditure is up here, but your deficit calories are down here. That discrepancy in the middle is literally just hunger, and the last thing that you need during a diet prep for a photo shoot is chewing the sofa in the middle of the night. No one needs to see that. Then on the next one, the most important one is going to be your calories. And the way I want you thinking about this is actually use this as the last lever that you need to pull, unless the phases are changing inside the 16 weeks. The reason behind this, every single time you drop calories, no matter what phase you are, you'll get closer and closer and closer to that fuck it zone. And that fuck it zone is very hard to reverse it. A lot of the team that we coach at Beyond has literally got amazing results without having to go below 1,200 calories. We do this by putting a bigger focus on expenditure first, calories second. Now we're going into the most underrated one in my eyes, and this is cardio. So this isn't cardio where you have to run a marathon. This isn't cardio where you have to do intervals. This is cardio that's going to literally act like a low interest compounding savings account. When I say this, it doesn't make any sense, but think of it in this manner. If we had 4 sessions per week and you were doing 100 calories post session on, let's say, the Stairmaster, that's 400 calories expended every single week. If we did this for 10 weeks, you've now expended 4,000 calories just from cardio alone, not including your deficit, not including your steps, not including your trainer volume, just from cardio alone. If we then know about 7,700 calories is 1 kg of body fat, you've knocked off about 0.6 kilograms in 10 weeks just from cardio. And that's if you never increase it. So you want this post session, you want to be working to about 70% of your maximum heart rate, and the focus point is increasing that cardio number of calories expended. Don't worry about time, always go for calories expended. Next up, my favorite, caffeine. So I can't live without it. I don't think a lot of people, especially in the UK, can live without it. Best way of thinking about this one is that it's just gonna help blunt your hunger cues. So black coffee in the morning, amazing. A decaf coffee with a black coffee version in the evening, again, amazing. It will just help take away some hunger noise. Now lean into your supplements. So there's 3 supplements I always recommend during any diet phase, but for a photo shoot prep phase, even more important. First one is omega-3. If you don't have a lot of fish within your diet, and you're like my wife who hates fish, hates the smell of it, can't even eat it around her, omega-3, highly recommend. We then have vitamin D3. Unfortunately, if you live in the UK or you're very pale like me, you probably have a vitamin D deficiency. So vitamin D daily, again, essential in my eyes. And then the last one is a bit of a different one, but magnesium glycinate. There's 2 different versions of magnesium. You always want to go for the glycinate version, especially for females, helps during your cycle, but also for everyone, helps your sleep patterns in there as well. Take about an hour before bed. We then have some more advanced ones. So the 2 that we use during peak week and the final stage of the shoot prep is, first one is Bean, which I really do recommend massively, but only if you're okay with stimulants. If you suffer from anxiety or quite an anxious person, pre-workout literally makes you want to be sick, do not recommend it. It is a stimulant. If you think about taking your Bean, best way of doing it first is a tolerance week. And this is half the dosage to then understand if you can handle the actual Bean in there itself. And then after your Bean, it's Expel, which this is the one that there's different versions of this one. Expel tends to be my favorite from this system. But we also have Peak Max, which is also highly recommended. And then we also have different versions of this one. Expel tends to be my favorite, also very good. But we also have Peak Max, which is also highly recommended. Then we have the Torpedo method, which for me is a massively underutilized one. Very good. With this, we're looking at diet phase. Then we have the Torpedo method, which for me is a massively underutilized one. Over the line. With this, we're looking at diet phase called PSM. PSMF is one of my George Blackburn, heavily utilized by the line in the plateau phase. And the approach is essentially be going very aggressive for this 5 days. PSMF is one of my George Blackburn, very low carbohydrates, very moderate fat. And the approach is essentially be going very aggressive for this 5 days. It's a high protein, very low carbohydrates, never heard of it, moderate fat. Don't recommend go straight into it. Fast track, do a bit of research first and watch more content. Now coming to the very last stages, and this is probably the most important part for me. Do a bit of research because if you go through the 16-week prep, now coming to the very last stages, and this is probably the most important part for me. Refeeds, because if you go through the 16-week prep non-stop, is that when you're in a diet phase, your body's actively going against having 100% energy balance. So the importance of refeeds, when you are dieting, when you're in a diet phase, your body's actively going against having 100% energy balance. And the goal from these milestone marks, when you are dieting aggressively, every phase that enhances, you basically want to bring your calories back to 14 calories per body weight. And the goal from these milestone marks, if we use replenishment every 5 kilograms, replenishment, you basically want to bring your calories back to 14 calories per body weight for 2 to 3 days max. You can go more aggressive afterwards. And that replenishment to keep getting aggressive service in the long run. Because after you replenish, you can go more aggressive afterwards. And it's hard
to keep
And then the last one,
aggressive,
probably the one with the most questions, is peak week in there itself, which I will run a full YouTube video breakdown on the back of this one. And then the last one, probably the one with the most questions, is peak week in there itself, which I will run a full YouTube video breakdown on the back of this one. Because if you found this video useful, drop a like, any questions, by all means, head to my Instagram at Jake Beyond Coaching, send me a DM. So if you found this video useful, drop a like, any questions, by all means, hope you enjoyed this video at Jake Beyond Coaching, send me a DM, let me know your thoughts, and if I did help you with your photo shoot, more than happy to help. Hope you enjoyed this video, catch you in a bit.